it doesn't matter what it is. God entrusted you with something. He counted you faithful to complete an assignment. Do you know why? It's because God considers always what will be. Turn to your neighbor and tell him, consider what will be. You know why God counted him faithful? It's because God looked at a Saul back in the day, and looking at Saul, he envisioned Paul. You know why why God trusted David? It's because he looked at a shepherd boy, but he envisioned the king. That's why. Do you know why God trusted Abram? It's because he looked at Abram, but he envisioned Abraham. Do you know why God trusted Moses? It's because he looked at a guy who had just murdered an Egyptian soldier, but he envisioned a deliverer who would bring over 1 million people out of Egypt into a land of promise. That's why. That's why. That's why. You know why God trusted Joseph? It's because he looked at a little boy who was spoiled by his father, but he saw a governor who would be able to take a whole country out of depression. That's why. Do you know why? Because God always considers what will be. That's why in the book of Judges, there's this guy called Gideon. And this guy is afraid of the enemy. And this guy the Bible says, he was threshing wheat in the winepress. He was ready to hide the fruit of his labor because his enemy was coming. And he was not able to fight them hand to hand. He didn't have the resources. He didn't have the people. He didn't have the army. He didn't have the means to protect himself. So he thought, I'm just going to hide what I've produced because I don't want my enemy who is stronger than me to steal from me. So you know what God does to this guy who was scared and running away from danger? God shows up and calls him a mighty man of valor, not because of what was, but because of what would be. God considers what will be. Hallelujah. My God. Woo, Jesus. When God looked at Jacob, he was looking at a guy who was cheating other people of things, a liar. He was looking at a usurper. He was looking at a guy who would do anything to get ahead. That's what he was looking at. But what he was envisioning was was envisioning a nation that would come through him. And he was looking at Jacob, but he was envisioning Israel. Good God of mercy. My question to you today is, when God looks at you, what is he envisioning for the future? Maybe you're looking at me and you're saying, Pastor Diego, you have no idea. Don't point your finger at me. Because when God looks at me, he sees a drug addict. He sees somebody who has a problem with pornography. He sees somebody who's not faithful to his wife or faithful to her husband. He sees somebody who's not a good parent, not a good mother, not a good father. Well, Pastor Diego, don't point your finger at me, because when God sees me, when God looks at me, he sees somebody who doesn't know what to do with his money. When he looks at me, he sees somebody that never prays and never touches his Bible when he's at home. When God looks at me, he sees somebody who's irresponsible, somebody maybe who's not motivated. When he looks at me, he sees a sinner. He sees somebody that has made tons of mistakes in the past, and he sees somebody